Hello and welcome back. My name is Igor. I am test engineer and I am sharing with you different tips and tricks for test automation. In this episode we are going to learn basics TypeScripts. This is absolutely basics for entry level and we are going to review different annotations, we are going to review enums, classes and all the stuff. I propose you not to waste time and not to talk too much and just start from the examples. And I propose to start with basic types. There are a couple of them and we will go one by one. First one which I want to cover is basically Boolean type. Let's open TypeScript playground and start typing. For example, we want to create Boolean variable. We can use const, let, variables. It's two most popular one. Const, that's when you cannot change the value of the variable, and let allows you to change the value. We are going to use const, and let's name our variable is available, is option available, option is option available, and we will set Boolean type and give it true by default. Next one is a number, const my unique number, and to declare number we need to set number. It could be both integer one or float one, my unique float number 3.3. Next one is a string, obviously, const my string. You need to set string type and it's easy to do, and we can call it this a string. Right, next one is basically array, const const names, and to set array could contain different types. It could be array of numbers, it could be array of strings, or both, even both. So let's say we have array of strings, and to have string array, and basically let's create, let's start with my name. Yes, let's add some other names, let's add Sarah, and so on. So basically that's it. Or we can also declare it like my unique numbers, and we can have our array, and we can say number, and let's change it to 1, 2, 4.3 and so on. Next one is a tuple. This is basically when you can have multiple different types in one array, but it's fixed amount of items in array. And let's see, my tuple, and like my cars, let's say my cars, and you say it is going to be 2 items, string and string, for example, or even, yeah, let's have string and string, and basically we can have car 1, car 2, and if you try to assign car 3, you basically should get an error. Yes, and what it says? It says that type of string is not assignable to type string. So this basically is the way how to set exact number of items and exact number of types of in array. Next one is enumeration, and basically enum is simple as that. It's a set of values which you can have. Let's say enum color, right, and we can set it like red, blue, white, black, and so on. And to assess to get an access to that items, you can simply do color.red and color.red, and you should get 0, yes, because they started from 0, but that's how it goes. Next one which we want to cover is basically any type. You can insert, you can assign value to any, for example, const my option with type any, and in this case we can set 32 is a number, but basically it's any kind of value it can hold null, for example, and so on. But I would prefer to avoid any, because in this way you cannot be sure what's inside, and that's a trick. That's it for basic types. Next one, we want to see interfaces. Interface, that's the way how to describe our object, which keys it should hold and which types. Let's say we want to create interface of the person, right? Simple one. Interface person. Which fields could it take? It could have first name, probably that's string, right? Next one, last name. First we need to make corrections. Last name, that's also string. We can have phone number, that's basically set of digits. Next one, yeah, phone number is a wrong type, it's a number, but I would prefer, no, it could be actually a string, because it could contain plus, for example, so let's better to use string. Age is a good candidate for a number, and also we can add questionable mark here, which means it's not required to have. And let's now create an object, and let's try to basically assign interface person, and in order to do so we can make, let's say Igor, we can say it's a type of person. Now we need to fill in all the fields, and in order to do so we can set first name Igor, last name Igor, phone number, it could be just basic one. And as you can see, we don't have error for age, because we have a questionable mark, which means it's not required option, but we can add it. And we can set age 30, and if we add some additional fields, for example city, and if we say some city, we will get an error. And that's what's good about having assigned type of object, because you cannot have any additional information there, just only what you supposed to have in interface. Let's move on, and next one is class. Class basically is the way how to describe an object, and it was introduced far back away in JavaScript and now in TypeScript. And let's try, for example, to create some class. We can call it, for example, animal, right? And this class could have couple of fields. Classes basically has access modifiers. It could contain private, public, and protected. Public is basically available for class instance. Private is only available for class itself. You can call it only inside this class. And protected is also available for the children elements, for the children classes, for someone who extends the class. And let's try to create private, for example, we can have name, right? And name, it could be string, and then we can have a constructor which will be called on initializing a class, and constructor could contain name, which is also a string, and we need to assign our name to class 1. Next, we can basically have some method. Let's have public method which we are going to name, like for example move, right? We can set distance to move, and it could be number, and we are going to return void. There is a function contains parameters, and there is a type for parameter, and function itself could return something. In our case it just returns nothing, it will be void, but for example it could return string, array, or any kind of type which is available. And we are going just to print console.log. We want to print distance on which to move, right? And then we can create new example of our class, new animal. We will name it somehow. We can say dog, and let dog, right? And then we can call dog move like 10 meters away, and we can see it just shows the distance where dog moves in. And next topic which we are going to cover is inheritance. And basically TypeScript supports inheritance, where one class can inherit properties and methods from another class. And let's have an example. Let's have class dog, which basically extends our class animal, and which means we basically inherit all the properties and all the methods from our class. And we can add additional method. We can add bark, which means basically barkling, and console.log just bark. Oh no, it's better to call woof woof. Fine, and now let's call our method. Let's have new instance of our class dog, new dog, and we can have a name, some check or whatever. Let check, and Jack basically can have move, and we need to pass distance 12 meters, and Jack could have like bark. Yeah, and we can see woof. Right, next big topic is access modifiers. We have 3 of them: public, protected, and private. Public is available for those who extend the class and for class instances. Protected is only available for class itself and for inheritance, and private is only for class itself. We can see here private name. We can see also protected sit down method. We can try to call our sit down method from bark, and it works well. But if I will try to Jack sit down, we should get an error. Yeah, it gives us an error. And that was a protected one. Public move is available, and private, if you'll try to call name here as well, name is private. Yeah. And next topic is basically intersection and union types. So you can have only one type, for example number, or you can have both number and strings. And to do so, we can have, for example, a method for dog, which, let's say, print random stuff, and we have random variable, and it could be string or it could be number. And basically we can say console.log random var next jack print random stuff, and we'll pass some number and we will pass some string. Let's try to compile it, and we can see here basically 12 and 33 both are accepted. Next, let's try with the types. Let's create type, for example admin, which has next fields name string and privileges, and it will be array of strings. Next one, we will have employee, and employee is a type where we have name string, and we also have start date, which is date. And finally we have new type elevated employee, which is basically admin and employee. So let's try to create such an object. Let elevated employee to be elevated employee, and so to have such object it requires to contain name Igor. It requires to have privileges, which is basically array of rights. It could be stuff, for example, and last one which requires is start date, and basically new date. Yeah, so that's where we have our union, intersection basically, where all fields are in place. Next one, we are going to discuss type aliases, and that's what we did already. You can create new type, your very own type, and for example type, we can call it string or number, for example, right? And you can have it like string or number. That's easy to use. Instead of copying it everywhere, you can just use this. And next one is type assertion. And type assertions is where you tell exactly what type of variable is it. And for example, it looks like let some value, and this value has any type, and then we can assign a string, my string. Next one you can basically get string length, and to have it you need, and you set it as a number, for example, and you have some value, you say it as string, so you tell it exactly what type of value it is, and then we can call length. Let's check it. Let's basically run it. And let's execute it. I don't see, for some reason, console log's clear. Let's try to execute again. Right, because we need to do console log str length. Let's run again. Yeah, it's length 9. Fine. Next one which we want to discuss, it's a modules and namespaces. We can create some file. For example, it will be mass utilities.ts, and in order to export some function outside of this module, you can run export function add, and where you basically where you have two numbers, x number and y number, and you return number as well. You basically return x plus y, and let's say you have another file app.ts, that's your application, and you can run import add function from your mass utilities.TypeScript, and that's how it works. It won't work in our case because it's a single file, but usually it looks like you have many modules which does its own job. For example, some mathematical stuffs. Next, you could have some string interpretation. You can have some array operations, so you combine it on a different topics and then just call it from different places. And you need to have export function to export data, and you need to have import to get the data from files. And next one is asynchronous operations. Let's say you have a method which fetch some data from the internet, and your method looks like function, could look like asynchronous function. You can have fetch data, and you provide an URL which is a string, and then inside this function you have let response variable, which is basically awaiting fetch results from URL, and then you get a JSON of that data equals response .json and console.log basically is data. And then you can call your function fetch data, provide some URL, https google.com, for example, and that's how it works. But basically that's also asynchronous, so you need to wait. It won't work in main file, in our file, because it's not allowed at top level, but inside your test it will work for sure. And also, next topic which we want to discuss, that's optional chaining and nullish coalition. And what's that? Optional chaining allows you to safely access deeply nested elements, and nullish coalition provides the default value when dealing with null or undefined values. Let's have an example. We can create a variable, let's create a type user, which is basically name, string, address, string, and age, number. Let user equals user, and we need to fill in all the required fields, name, Igor, and then we can have, for example, address, some street, and we can have age, some age. Next one, let's say we want to console log something. Console.log, we want to log user.name, user.address, and basically in our case, let's make address even better. We can have type address here, and we can create type address. We can say street name, it's a string, and we can say building number, it's number. And let's get back and let's create our object, street name, and let's create also building number. It will be 34, for example, and that's what we're expecting to have. Street name supposed to be a string, right? Of course. And then if we call address dot building number, it works perfectly fine. But if we will try to call, for example, building number dot building number dot street, for example, something not existing, or no, it's better to call zip code, and what's that? Let's call it and see. We will get undefined, right, and error. But if we'll try to nullish coalition, and we'll try not existing zip, and run it again, we will see not existing zip. But actually how is working optional chaining? Optional chaining we can try to add here and for example test property, let's call it test property. Let's try to run it and see what is going to happen here. We have undefined, and this is because we have a type. Let's remove type from our object and let's call it again. and we see it's undefined. But if we'll do it without optional chaining, we will get an error: executed JavaScript failed. But if we'll add optional chaining, then we should get basically just undefined, and that's a difference. Run, and we see undefined but not an error. That's why we use it. And the next one is basically type guards. Type guards are functions that allow you to perform runtime checks that guarantee the type of a variable. And let's have an example. Let's say we have a method which is called function isString, and we provide a value to type of any, and we return value which is string. That's what we say. And basically return a value, and basically let's implement it. Return type of value equals to string, and function, let's have another function which is print value, could be string or number, and if is string value, we basically do a console log that string and plus value, and else we do console log dot number plus value. And let's try to call it print 4 and print 5, number and string. And guys, that was it for today. It was just some basic stuff. I propose you to practice on your own and read TypeScript documentation to get more details, but it's for sure enough for you to get started with automation today. And I hope you like it and find it useful. See you next time. I wish you a good, pleasant day. Bye bye.